Hi, friends. Let's make sure this is going live and we'll get started in just a second. Okay, I think we're live. So today we're talking all about exactly what you need to do to book more sales calls. And I'm so excited for this training because I've never shared all this information in one place before. Basically, I have 7 key swaps of specific words that you can stop saying and start saying that I think are going to make a big difference for you when it comes to your marketing and sales this week. And so you may have heard bits of this before, but I have really never put it all in one place. Actually, it's 8. I added one more since I was writing this. But if you're joining me, please say hello. Let me know where you're tuning in from if you're watching the replay. I love jamming out in the replay. And so feel free to comment along, ask questions. I always come back and answer whatever is popping up for you. So feel free to hang out and play along with me. I'm so excited to announce, you guys, that today officially the doors for Visible Impact are open. So if we've never met before, my name is Anna Franzen and I lead Visible Impact, which is a 6-week incubator for women ready to get consistent in their visibility. Whether it's the first time you're looking to sign your first client, or maybe you have some traction, but you know that in order to sell out that group, sell out that course, you need to be consistently visible. So I help you do that step by step for 6 weeks. We literally write together social media content. And anyway, PM me if you want more information. I would love to connect one-on-one. And it's an early bird right now, so you save $100 off the program if you would like to join. Okay, I'm going to share more about that at the end. But what I want to do is first share 2 stories with you today, and then I want to share the practical swaps of words I want you to stop saying and start saying. And then I also want you to think about your audience, right? I am telling you that you're going to get better results in your sales and your visibility if you swap out these words. But I also want to kind of make this meta, and I want you to think for your audience, what words can I have my audience stopping and starting to say so that they can get better results? Does that make sense? Okay, so the reason this whole thing came about is I have a 3 and a 5-year-old, and about a few months ago, I was really having a hard time getting my daughter to wear her jacket. And so, I was trying all the mom tricks. I was trying to be nice, I was trying to be firm, like all the things. And then I got an idea. She loves Elsa from Frozen. I mean, what 3-year-old doesn't right now? And so I was like, this is your Elsa coat. Like, this is your blue Elsa coat. And you guys, I kid you not, like overnight, she was obsessed with this jacket, obsessed. And I was like, oh my gosh, like why, that was so easy, right? And of course she knew it wasn't really Elsa's jacket, but I think for her, it changed the way that she saw the coat. And I see this happen, you guys, with my clients time and time again. A big one is sales, right? And how they're thinking about sales. And, one of the first reframes that I did, instead of thinking about, I have to go on and sell people on my free challenge or sell people to download my freebie or sell people to do coaching with me, I started using the word invite, and really thinking through, I get to invite people to work with me. And really, it's the same thing as selling. But you guys, never underestimate the power of shifting the way you think about things, because what that does is it shifts the way that you show up, right? If you feel excited to invite someone to your free or paid thing, right, you're going to be taking the action that's going to get you the results you want, right? People buying from you. And so I believe in business strategy. I would say like invisible impact, that's probably like half of what we do, but 50% of it really is the mindset and really thinking different about what it is that you need and want to do. So that's one example, right? Instead of using the word sell, asking yourself, how can I invite, like, who doesn't like to be invited to a party, right? And so really thinking about, if my freebie was a party, how could I get excited about inviting people to download that freebie, right? If my one-on-one coaching offer was a party, right? People love to get invited. And so really using that frame. Okay, so that's one. I'm going to give you 7 more examples of words that you can swap out. And for my own business and my clients, I found that these have been a game changer. So if anyone's watching me live and wants to write these down for me, I'm going to say, I'm going to say a word, and then I'm going to say try a different word, okay? The first one is, instead of feeling the pressure to call yourself an expert, this is from Denise Duffield Thomas, by the way, you can call yourself a contributor. Right? So often we feel super intimidated by feeling like we have to call ourselves the end-all expert in health and wellness, the end-all expert in relationships, right? But can you own that you're a contributor in the field of relationships, that you have an important message, you have an important story, you have an important experience? So that's the first one. Instead of expert, call yourself a contributor. I love that one. Second one is if you are a coach, and that feels at the start of my business, you guys going from therapy to coaching, I really felt unqualified to coach, right? I felt like I have my master's degree, right, in counseling, but I am not officially certified in coaching, right? And so am I qualified to call myself a coach? And so something that really helped me at the start was calling myself a mentor, right? Realizing like I can mentor in this thing. And so if the word coach feels really charged for you, try swapping it out for something that feels more aligned. Okay. The next is discovery call. And so a lot of times people feel like, oh, I don't want to invite people to discovery call. But what basically is a discovery call? A discovery call is a way for someone to like get a teaser taste of what you have to offer, right? And then get your support around deciding if your offer is for them, right? So answering questions that they might have, some really practical questions. And so if that fills off, you can call it what I call it. I call it a clarity call, because for me, those calls, the goal of that call is to give that potential client massive clarity in the decision either way, right? Whether you are for them or not. So that's another one. Another one, okay, this is one of my favorites, is in the online space. When I first came on, I heard a lot of people using the word prospects, right? And if that word feels aligned for you, great. But for some reason, that word just hit me wrong, right? I just didn't love the word prospects. And so for me, really early on, I started calling people that were interested in working with me pre-clients. Because for me, it's this belief that, once someone is in my sphere, right, eventually they're going to work with me. What if you had that belief, right? And I think it just like decreases the anxiety. And so for me, calling someone a prospect, it just feels very impersonal, right? Versus calling someone a pre-client makes it feel like someday, if it's aligned, they're going to work with me. They're a pre-client. They're a potential client, right? And so I want you to try that on for size. The next one is, instead of using the word promise when you talk about your programs, people say like, oh, I do want to book sales calls, but I'm also a little nervous to book sales calls because what if actually people work with me and I can't get them the results I promised? Okay, here's the word swap I want you to do with this. Instead of saying promise, I want you to use the word potential results, right? Based on where you're at when you start working with me, based on the amount of time you have, based on all these factors, these are the potential results you have, right? And I see people go one of two ways, either like going overboard with promising things that they really can't promise, or not even giving any potential results, right? You also need to be able to say, hey, if you show up and if you coach with me one-on-one or whatever it is that you're selling right now, right? At the end, you can expect whatever, a finished website, right? Based on our work together, these are the type of things that are possible for you. These are the type of things that my past clients have experienced, right? And so just because you don't want to promise results, I don't want you to shy away from painting the picture and letting your people really know what's possible if they show up and do the work. Okay, does that make sense? The next word swap I want you to do is, instead of using the word brag, right? A lot of people in their content online, a big way that you can get people to buy from your written content is by in a way like bragging, right? Letting people know, hey, I'm qualified to do the work I do, right? I have experience. And so if the word brag feels like, horrible, you can say sharing your wins, and again, showing your clients what's possible, right? As you share your wins personally, you're not doing it to say, haha, I'm better than you. You're doing it to say, guess what? I did this, but guess what? You can too, right? That's really what paints the picture of what's possible for your clients. Okay, the last one is, instead of overcome objections on sales calls, if that feels like, oh, I don't want to overcome their objections, for me, it's really about coaching and supporting someone around the best possible decision, right? Life and business is overwhelming, right? And so for me, on my clarity calls, I really like to have that space to support someone around that decision, right? If they're like me, they're a busy mom, they've got a lot going on. And so really giving someone support around that sales decision, whether it's working for me or not, gives me a lot of peace knowing that I have at least done my part to help them make their very best decision. Okay, did I go over all them? Again, so instead of expert, using the word contributor. Instead of using the word coach, use the word mentor. Instead of using the word sell, use the word invite. This is for yourself, right? Instead of using discovery call, maybe you want to say clarity call. Instead of saying prospects, maybe you want to do what I do, which is say pre-clients. Instead of promise, potential results. Instead of overcome objections, coach and support around the best possible decision for that client. And really having that best possible, interest in mind. And the next is, instead of brags, sharing your wins and showing what's possible. Let me know of those examples, which one are you like, oh my gosh, like that one is for me. That's the one that I feel like I really want to own. And if I own that, I know I would show up different, right? So let me know in the chat box which one it is for you that really stands out. And I want you to really own that. And how this helps you book more sales calls, right, is a lot of times when I hear people saying like, Anna, I do great once I'm on the call, but it's getting people booked. That's the difficulty for me, right? Let me know if that's you. A lot of times what it is in your visibility, right? We're not going to show up and be visible consistently for the long run unless it feels good, right? And using some of these words and doing some of these mindset flips is actually going to help you so much more than if I give you some like practical business tips on like post 3 times a day and like, that's good. But what's better is if it didn't feel icky, like, right? You've had seasons where it's felt really hard to show up online, and you probably had seasons where it's like, wow, I just can't stop writing. Wow, I just want to go on Facebook, whatever it is for you, right? And so know that like what I see as my job is to help get you in that good mental place, right? Using those words that feel aligned. Okay, so those are 7 practical examples of word swaps you can do. And I want you to ask yourself, there's 2 questions I want you to consider. What's something you need to do, but you need to think differently about? And again, that was sales at the start of my business for me. I almost was like, okay, is there a way for me to make money online without selling? Because if so, maybe I just need to figure out that secret, right? Maybe I just need to figure out that hack, right? How do I make money? How do I serve? How do I help clients? I love that part, but how do I do it without selling? Can I just skip that part, right? Instead of asking myself the question, which I should have asked myself, how do I make selling feel good? How do I make selling feel in alignment? Right? And so asking yourself, maybe it is sales for you. If it is that, let me know. But maybe it's something else in your business that you need to do, but it's feeling off. How can you reframe and change that, right? Because I swear, like when I reframed selling to inviting, I showed up completely differently, right? I showed up more excited, right? So I want you to answer that question. What's something that you need to do, but you need to reframe around? And the other thing I want you to ask yourself is, what's something I know my audience needs to do, but I need to reframe, right? Reframe is a word we use in counseling, but in the online business place, it's like marketing. Like we're almost like marketing things, right? In some ways, as I'm telling you, okay, instead of using the word prospects, use the word pre-clients, right? What did I do? I just remarketed that for you so that it felt better. I just reframed that for you, right? And it sounds crazy, but trust me when I say that works. Like that shiz works when it comes to helping your people actually take action and get results. And it's why in Visible Impact, I see women that are stuck for so long actually start signing clients with their visibility. And it's because when you start shifting, you start changing the way you think. So I want you to ask yourself, how do I change the way I think? But I also want you to ask yourself, how do I change the way my audience thinks, right? Let me know in the chat box something that that is key to have your clients do, right? So example, if you're a health coach, probably exercising is one of the things that you have your clients do, right? Maybe it's journaling, right? But really asking yourself what it is. Oh, I have a good reframe for journaling, by the way, too. But asking yourself, what is it that I have my clients do that to them, they may be turned off by, or it may be humdrum, or they may have just some, like a negative experience with it, right? Why do we have a negative connotation with the word selling? Don't even get me started on this one. I think part of it is because, in the online industry and in general, like when we think about selling, we think about like used car salesmen, right? Or we think about like an icky experience that we've had with someone selling to us where it felt not good, right? And so it's actually not, the word selling actually isn't the problem, right? It's what we have made the word selling to mean, the experiences we've had around the word selling, right? Same thing with your clients if you're a health coach, right? The word exercise, it's not a dirty word, right? But they may have had a bad experience with it. They may have had a weird experience. And so when we change the language, we're actually able to like create a new meaning around it. Maybe does this sound like woo, often left field, but I promise like it really does make a huge difference. And so really asking yourself, how can I help my client take the same action, but call it something different, create a different energy around it, create a different feel about it, so that they can show up and do the thing in a way that feels good. So I want you to ask yourself, for you, what's a reframe, a shift, a word that I need to just own and embrace this week? Maybe it's one of the 7 or 8 examples that I just gave you, but maybe it's something else in your business, right? And feel free to comment below too and tell us if there is something in particular, and I'm happy to brainstorm some other words and reframes around it too. I'm kind of a queen at reframing. And what was I going to say? And I want you to ask yourself, for my audience, right? For my audience, what is it that I can reframe for them? And spoiler alert, you actually may already do it, but not know it. For example, I started using the word pre-clients instead of prospects without even consciously realizing it, right? I just started calling people pre-clients. And with my clients, I started saying, what about that pre-client? And they're like, wait, what? What does the word pre-client mean? Right? And I was like, oh, I guess I just kind of started calling them that because in my brain, I didn't want to call someone a prospect, right? So ask yourself, what weird words have I already started using, and how can I really make it a thing and define it, right? I had to literally say, and I actually have a piece of content where I define, what is a pre-client? This is what a pre-client is: someone that is in your audience but isn't yet working with you, right? And so it may be something that you're already using, or it may be something you need to do a brainstorm around. Like, so for me, I'm really not a huge journaler. I say that, but for the last few months, I have checked in almost every single day and wrote words on paper, right? You may be like, Anna, that's kind of journaling. For me, I call it my daily check-in, because I think for me, the reason I have resistance to journaling, call me crazy, but for me, it feels like, as a busy mama, I'm already tapped out. And so the idea of every single day pouring my heart out on paper feels very overwhelming. It really does. It feels very heavy. And so I resist it and I won't do it. But if I just tell myself, oh, I'm doing a daily check-in and I'm asking myself 5 questions, right? I ask myself 5 questions every morning, and I basically journal and pour out whatever's on my heart, write some gratitude, celebrate my wins. I write my priorities. I do some affirmations. I do 5 things every morning, and I basically am journaling every day. How did I get myself to journal every day, even though journaling is like kind of intimidating for me? I called it my daily check-in. I called it my 5 daily cues, because I knew that when I am checking in with myself daily as the CEO in my life and business, I am a much better human for my children, for my clients, in my business. Like, I just know that daily mindset work and daily checking in has made such a difference for me at every level in my business. Like, I knew that mindset work was the game changer, but I also had resistance to doing it. And so that's why instead of journaling, calling it my daily check-in, dink, did it. Right? Does that make sense? And so allow yourself to get good at this. Allow yourself to get good at reframing, remarketing for yourself in your own business. And then also be real, like, it's your job to be a master at changing the way your potential clients think about change, about work, right? And so I gave you the examples for me, for you. I want you to think differently about being an expert, being a coach, selling, discovery calls, prospects, objections. Like, I want you to think different about that 100%, but I also want you to think about, how can I help my people think different, right? What if that was my job, to help my people think different about the things that they need to do, but they're feeling resistance, instead of just like pushing them harder, right? I'm all for like trackers and habits and just doing things to do them sometimes. But I think most of the time as a coach, our biggest job, like, think about it, right? We're just with our clients a limited time, right? 1 hour a week, 1 time a month. And I really feel like the biggest shift we can do is really, again, help with this transformation of the way they're thinking, right? So I want you to maybe even journal this week and ask yourself, here's the journal question for you, okay? I mean, not journal. If you're not a journaler, here's the exercise. What's something your audience needs to do, but they're having resistance to doing? What is it? If you have an idea, drop it in the chat box too. Even if you don't know the reframe for it yet, that'll come next, right? So really ask yourself, what's something my audience needs to do, but they have resistance to doing it, right? I shared with you often my clients, it's sales. They need to sell if they want to make money, right? But they have resistance to doing it. What is it for your clients? What is it that they need to do? That small habit, that small thing, right? That they need to do, but they're having resistance. Get clear on what that is first. That's step one, right? Once you're clear on it, ask yourself, how can I reframe it? How can I call it just on a really practical level, how can I name it something different, right? How can I help them start thinking different about this thing? And I promise it's going to change the way you're able to get your clients results, but also the way you're able to get your audience results. Because when you write your content, I want you to start using some of these words in your content, okay? Yes! Okay, I'm so excited to see you start to infuse some of this language into your content. And also, so you have two kind of actions for me. First action is, of these 8 words, I want you to tell me which reframe you're going to use so that you can start thinking different about sales this week. Which word are you going to own? And then I also want you to tell me, for your audience, for your clients, what reframe are you going to introduce to them? What reframe are you going to own? And again, you may already be reframing and not realizing it. Okay, before we head out, let me know what your biggest takeaway was from today's live. I would love to hear what's standing out for you, what you want to apply. If you end up doing those 2 kind of like exercises and asking yourself, what do I want to own? What do I want my clients to own? Feel free to come back and pop those in the chat box and process right here. And if you want more support around this, I would love to invite you to Visible Impact. So I did some workshops and a few women have already signed up for the program, but we definitely still have some spaces left. So I'm so excited. October 4th, in just a few weeks, starts the next round of Visible Impact. It's my 6-week group program where I help you get visible online. Yes, hey Melissa. I'll read your comment in just a second. Get visible online for 6 weeks and doing these nuanced sort of things, right? I want to help you shift so that visibility is easier, but I also want to help you write better copy. I also want to help you, be a better marketer. This whole conversation, by the way, spoiler alert, was about marketing. So if you're like, I hate marketing, guess what? We just talked about marketing, right? Really being aware of the words we're using with our audience. And so I want you to think different about sales and visibility in those 6 weeks, but I also want you to uncover and explore and understand how to articulate to your ideal clients what it is that you sell and offer, right? Because no matter how good it is on the back end, what you sell, what you offer, if you can't articulate it in a way that has them raising their hands and saying, heck yes, it's just not going to be helpful, right? I love that Melissa's saying, hi, Melissa, by the way, happy Thursday. Instead of pre-clients, using pre-clients instead of prospects. I love that one, right? And it's just this belief too. Like I was telling a client yesterday, what if you had this belief that once someone got on the phone to work with you, to connect with you or commented or connected, it was only a matter of time before they worked with you, right? Just really owning that belief. And then potential results instead of promise, right? That was huge for me too. I really worried about what if I promise them all these things and everyone's unique and what will they get? But really taking a stand and saying, hey, based on, the work we do together, based on where you're at in your journey, these are the type of results you can expect in your business, right? It really, really changed everything. So I love that, Melissa. Melissa, did anything come to mind for your potential clients when you think about the things you need them to do to get the breakthrough, but maybe there's resistance to them doing those things? Let me know if anything came up for you there. I'd love to hear it. Anyway, so the goal in Visible Impact is exactly what we talked about on this call, right? Which is changing the way you think about visibility so that it becomes easier, right? But also really understanding your ideal client, right? The goal in Visible Impact is that you would spend 6 weeks as a student of your target audience, right? And many of you are like, Anna, I don't know my niche. I don't know my ideal client. I'm rethinking do I have the right audience? Am I targeting the right people, right? And it sounds crazy, but in getting visible for 6 weeks with your people is actually how you get to know that, is actually how you get clear on your ideal client. At the start of my business, I felt so stuck when it comes to picking niches. And, I was like, I don't really want to pick one because what if I pick the wrong niche and then I waste my time, right? What if I pick the wrong target audience and I leave people out, right? As a therapist, I saw everyone everyone who came through my door, I helped them in therapy, right? And I think in many ways that was a blessing because I had a lot of crazy experiences. But in many ways it was a downside too because I was just, I didn't know how to, narrow things down, and that can be hard. But the best way I know, you guys, to narrow things down is getting visible with your audience in real time and asking them a ton of questions, right? Really asking them, where do you need support? I have these 3 training options. Which one would most benefit you, right? Really getting to know and connecting with your audience. Being visible is what gives you the clarity around that. Melissa says, I need to think on the second thing a bit more. I have a hint of what it is, but I need to ponder. Yes, and this takes time, right? I know I just popped out these 8 things, but this really took me 4 years to figure out what it was for my audience. So if you don't know immediately, that's okay, right? But I do want you to start kind of drawing it to your attention because this is what makes you a master at marketing, okay? This is what makes you a master. And so I honestly, until this training, I didn't have all of these 8 words in one place, right? And I've been in my business for 4 years. But I want you to start at least bringing to your awareness, again, what are the things that I know my audience needs to do, but they have resistance to doing, and I need to remarket it so that they feel excited about doing it, right? And you'll start to see this more and more, as you watch commercials and ads, oh, they're remarketing that thing to me, right? They're remarketing exercise. They're remarketing that thing. And so be aware of that. Okay, what else did I want to say? Okay, so visible impact, PM me. So your next step, if you're interested in 6 weeks of support from me, it's live. We have live group calls. We have a training library. Every week you do a video and a worksheet. And then in the private Facebook group, we have prompts. And as you write content in the program, you actually post it in our private Facebook group. And I'll be there to review, give feedback. And for many women, I hear that that's a really imperative part and helps them see blind spots and gaps, right, in their writing. Oh my gosh, I didn't even think to do that, right? And then they start doing it permanently, right? And it's almost like a really feedback-driven incubator where you're able to in real time. Sometimes it's hard, when we're posting online, if we get crickets or if we don't get comments, it's easy to be I don't know what's wrong, right? So I guess I'm just going to stop posting and I'm going to hide, right? Or we scratch our head wondering. Instead of just being with someone that can really honestly give you feedback, and not from a place of what you're doing is wrong, but hey, this could work even better if you XYZ. Have you thought about marketing it this way? Because what I find for most women that enter my programs is they're actually really good at what they do, right? They're really good at their work, but it's the marketing that feels like a stretch. It's the marketing that feels like an edge, And so I hear people all the time it shouldn't be that hard to be visible. It shouldn't be that hard to be consistent online. And I really struggle with consistency, even though I've been in business for a few years. Is there something wrong with me? Hell to the no, there's nothing wrong with you, because honestly, I feel like visibility is one of the hardest things at every level in your business, right? Why? Because you have to have massive clarity, right? And you have to really have, longevity to be consistent. You have to keep up that confidence for the long run. Okay, Melissa says, one of the things I've been saying to my audience is that they don't need to study English any harder in order to feel more confident as a second language speaker. Oh, I love this so much. I'm wondering if I need to go further with that. Yes. And so, Melissa, what comes up for me and anyone else listening too is what do you need them to do instead? Right? I'm guessing maybe it's some sort of version of mindset work. Did you catch the part where I said about journaling, reframing that? So you don't need them to study English any harder to get good at English, right? What do you need them to do? What is it that you do need them to do? Let me know what that is. And that's the thing we're going to reframe. That's the thing we're going to market and make super sexy, right? This is what I see as my job with my clients, right? To make it feel really sexy and fun, to do the really tiny, simple things I know they need to do to get results, right? It sounds crazy, but what do you need to do to make more sales? You need to book more sales calls. That feels like the hardest, most overwhelming thing in the world a lot of times, right? I know it did for me at the start of my business. So my job is to make that as simple, as sexy, and as fun as possible for my clients. Same thing in visible impact, right? In visible impact, my job is to make it as simple and fun and as exciting to be visible for 6 weeks consistently in your business. Because I know I see something radically shift in my clients when for 6 weeks, they're able to get visible consistently, not sporadically, but for 6 weeks, get visible and in one direction, not just sporadically, but really with a plan, right? And so that's why in Visible Impact, we sit down week 1, we make a content plan, right? So you already know at the start what you're going to be visible on for 6 weeks. And you know, here's the key part, that it aligns with your goals, right? I'm laughing because I know this is simple, but it's also really hard, right? So we know that we have a plan and it's in alignment, right? And I know that that's the thing that's going to change the game for you. I just know it is. But I also know that we have all sorts of blocks when it comes to that. Right? We have, what platform should I choose? Oh, but I'm busy right now. I don't have. And so my job is to make those simple things, right? Creating a content plan, writing the heck in advance. If you're not writing in advance in your business, if you're doing your visibility every day, fastest way to burn yourself out in the long run, right? So if you're not writing 1 week in advance, if you don't have a 6-week content plan, if you're not sticking to that and really staying visible so that your audience on the receiving end sees you speaking about one dang thing for 6 weeks, right? If you're not doing that, I know that that's the game changer. However, I also know that we have so many blocks to that. So my job as the coach is to make that really simple, really fun, so that you can do it, right? I want you to ask yourself, for you, what's my job to help my clients do, right? The thing that I know that they're resisting that I know is going to be a game changer for them, right? That's your job, is to remarket. And it sounds crazy, but it's not just your job to market your programs, but it's your job to market the things that are going to help your clients change and shift. Does that make sense? Because it's not just about getting them in the door, but once they're a paying client, we actually want them to get results, right? And so this is this conversation. Okay, Melissa says, I'm trying, and if you guys have any questions for me on this, let me know. I know this is more like an advanced marketing conversation, and so let me know what questions you have around this. I'm trying to reframe the idea that starting harder equals confidence. Yeah, when in fact it's changing their mindset. So good, Melissa. So what practically are you able to identify what practically you have them do to change their mindset? What are some of those practical exercises or things or actions that you have them do to change their mindset? Let me know what that is below. Okay, anyway, let me finish talking about Visible Impact. Is 6-week program, group calls, Facebook group. Really, it's an impeccable amount of support for the investment. It really, really is. 6 weeks of live support. I am so active in that Facebook group. And what I hear from my clients time and time again, besides actually signing clients because they're being visible, is that I had several clients use the phrase, I felt like there was a light switch. I feel like it turned on. I felt like there was a shift. I felt like something changed, right? Because that's what happens. It feels like we need to have so much clarity and so much confidence to be visible, but really in your visibility as you're working it out, that's what gives you so much confidence and clarity and makes you feel really turned on to your marketing so that you can connect with your audience. So if you're interested, it's $100 off for the early bird right now. And so PM me with any questions or any thoughts or any hesitations for this round of the program. And let's see, does it include anything else? I also include a lot of practical resources. I guess I don't talk about this very much, but I also include a content prompt workbook. I have a little content calendar where it's 6 weeks of literally a little different prompt every day. So there are really practical things to help you get visible. I'm all about that. I have a little connection tracker spreadsheet so that you can track when you're connecting online so that you don't feel like you have to be online every day. A lot of really practical, I have a master your messaging worksheet so that if you're feeling stuck in your niche, there's a lot of practical resources, but I want you to feel equipped. I want you to feel trained. You have forever access to all the training, but you also have my live support so that you're actually doing it, right? You're not just learning about visibility, but you're actually getting visible in real time for 6 weeks, right? The goal is that you would get visible for 6 weeks, right? We could create our 6-week content plan. We're getting visible for 6 weeks in a row. But then here's the bigger goal, not that just that you got visible, but that you have massive clarity so that you can get visible for 6 weeks at a time on repeat from now till eternity, right? The goal is that visibility is no longer an issue, right? You figured it out so you can move on to bigger and better problems, right? You can troubleshoot things with your team, onboarding your team member, whatever it is, right? Taking more sales calls. But the goal is that some visibility and clarity around your niche, all of that stuff would be gone, right? And what I do too, so we do 6 weeks of the program, and then on the last week, on week 7, I always do like a little bonus week, is week 7 is your next 6 weeks, right? And it's just a 1-page worksheet to plan your next 6 weeks, right? Figuring out what's my content plan, what's my focus, right? When am I getting visible? Like, what are those and moving forward, you should be able to plan your visibility in about 1 hour for the next 6 weeks. With 1 page, right? 1-page visibility plan is what I call it. So after the program, it's almost like, okay, I did visibility live for 6 weeks. I really got in it. And now moving forward, now that I'm a graduate, I can do my visibility 6 weeks at a time with 1 sheet, a 1-sheet marketing plan, right? Because at its essence, your visibility strategy should be pretty simple, right? Maybe it's posting in your Facebook group and going on live, right? Maybe it's showing up every day on Instagram stories, right? Whatever it is for you, it should be pretty simple. The actual practical part about it, right? Melissa, thank you so much for hanging out live. If anyone else has any other questions or answers to what I went over, feel free to. I wonder if I can, let me see if I can pop these in the chat box too, the 8 reframes. Let me do it. Let's see if this lets me post it. Did that post in there? I don't know if this is going to post right, but I also just pasted in the chat box. Hopefully the formatting works. The different reframes. How many did I do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. 8 different reframes that will help you think differently about sales. And when you think differently, you're going to show up and do it differently. Okay. Let me know. Feel free to PM me if you have any visible impact questions. And I hope you guys have a beautiful, beautiful Thursday. Okay. Bye, loves.